So is this rolling then?
It's all rolling. We just waiting on you, son.
All right. That brings us to question 7.
Yes, and I believe I'm reading the odds.
Yes, because you're odd.
I am the odd one.
This is Libby Road and the Sound Epistemology Podcast. This episode of the podcast features number 7 on the Street Epistemology Survey, which is designed to explore our relationship with truth. It also demonstrates the heavy lifting we feel we must do in order to understand and to be understood, and it exposes the struggle we sometimes have with formulating and communicating the ideas that seem so clear in our head. It's important to remember that this series of videos is not a guide on how to conduct street epistemology, but more of a respectful examination between two friends of our point of view on reality using active listening, steel manning, modeling, and charity. If you'd like to see some examples of actual productive street epistemology conversations, we invite you to click on some of the links in the description. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Sound Epistemology Podcast. Here it is, number 7.
All right. Some beliefs should never be questioned. Well, look at that.
This one was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, some beliefs should never be questioned seems like a pretty scary place to operate from.
Yeah.
If your beliefs can't hold up to questioning, it seems like there must be some degree of delusional element to it. If you just, I just refuse to discuss it. I can see being fed up with having to, explain your position, where you're coming from. But I think that's different than some beliefs should never be questioned. I think it's healthy to question your beliefs and healthy to, sort of renegotiate or just redeclare where it is you're coming from time to time so that you have an understanding and the people you're operating with have an understanding. And so here's my question for you though, since we strongly agree, where is your strongly agree at on this in a percentage-wise?
I strongly disagree.
Oh, sorry. Strongly disagree. I also strongly disagree.
Yeah.
We both flipped them over so I couldn't see either of them, but you're right. Mm-hmm. We both strongly disagree. So then we strongly disagree. Where does that put you? Is that a 0? Is that 1? Where is that?
Oh, yeah. This one is another one of the towards the top as far as being pretty confident that I strongly disagree with this.
So what we have then is a absolute 0.
No, wouldn't be 0. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure of any belief that I could put at confidence level of 0 or 100. I think that would be dishonest of me to be that closed about something. There is a chance that I could be convinced, possibly, that I should lower my confidence that I strongly disagree with this. Does that make sense?
So you're saying
I could be convinced otherwise.
You could be convinced that
maybe I
should be questioned, or some beliefs, or that you could feel stronger about them not being questioned or being questioned.
Yeah, my confidence could move about this. It would just take a lot. It would take a lot for me to change this from strongly disagree to just disagree. It would take a lot to just take that step. But I leave myself open to, maybe haven't heard a good reason yet. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that I'm completely closed about this. In fact, right now, I'm convinced that all beliefs should be questioned. And not just more than once. We should, and this might be kind of what you were saying, is that we should go back and revisit them often.
Yeah.
To maybe review it and reconsider, and that would help, solidify one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could help maybe reconsider it and change where I am about things, instead of just deciding, okay, I've already figured this one out, I don't ever have to revisit it again.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, and continue. I think it's more intellectually honest to go back and revisit them several times.
Yeah, I think I would add to that, not just intellectually, but I think, the more you can be aware of the assumptions that you're operating under, the better. And so if you are questioning those beliefs from time to time and exploring them a little, then you're just getting to know your authentic self better and better, instead of it being this thing, you set it and forget it, and then you're running on autopilot. I don't know if I've seen a good example of running on autopilot. I think it is helpful not to be in a place of not knowing where you stand, to be in a place of knowing where you're standing, even if that does change.
Mm-hmm. Having a good idea of where your values are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by questioning them. And that's one of the approaches that I think you're coming at street epistemology from, is you want to understand someone's beliefs better. I think some people want to use street epistemology to shake people up and get them questioning their beliefs, and that certainly has an intention of manipulation, versus just wanting to discuss these things with people. Although I don't know, is that where you're coming from when you want people? So the question is, some beliefs should never be questioned. So I think it's fair for us to discuss, what's the point of questioning beliefs? And what's your motive behind questioning beliefs?
Yeah. Why should someone question their beliefs?
Why should someone question their beliefs? Or why should you ask someone to question their beliefs? Because that's exactly what street epistemology is doing, is challenging someone to question their beliefs. To what end?
I think having a better understanding of somebody else's beliefs and why they hold them, and having that conversation, allows the person that is currently holding the beliefs to better understand those things too. Me understanding somebody else's beliefs is kind of a byproduct of the whole idea behind it, and that is to get somebody who's holding a belief to take another look at what causes them to have a high confidence that that belief is true. That's kind of one of the main goals. And if I genuinely am interested in why somebody believes something, and I ask good questions, and I ask questions that get to the core of what's propping up that belief, it forces them to do that with their own. And that's what we're after.
Yeah, I've heard you say before, though, that you like to go into it open to maybe you'll learn something that you would want to adopt.
Yep, that's the genuine wanting to understand part. Yeah, you have to. You can't really fake sincerity like that. You going into a conversation with the assumption that they're already wrong. I think is disingenuous if your goal is to understand them better and to have them understand themselves better. Going into a conversation with an open mind, with the potential to be convinced of something. You know, I could learn something here. I could learn something that I've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to the potential of being shown good reasons for them holding a belief that I may not have good reasons for, but then I learn maybe there are some good reasons for holding this. And by doing that, they're able to investigate it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it doesn't happen right then and there, if you ask the right questions, they call it putting a pebble in their shoe, that kind of, they keep thinking about it throughout the day, and it gets them to investigate it, especially for beliefs that affect their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've talked about this before, where beliefs have consequences. I think it was my understanding that part of your definition of a belief is an action. A belief is an action, taking an action, right?
Or a choice, yeah.
Yeah, choosing to believe something. Yeah, choosing to believe something is an action.
Sure,
That's kind of where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So, is believing something an action? Would you consider that an action?
Yeah, actually you have to make the choice. Yeah, I think so.
Could somebody hold a belief and not act upon it?
Well, if they're holding a belief, then it's driving the actions they do take, the thoughts they think, the words that come out their mouth, and then the way they conduct themselves throughout their day. So I don't think it's possible to hold a belief and not have it impact your actions, because it's the prescript that dictates everything that follows. And I think a thought is an action.
Are you saying that holding a belief requires an action?
Holding a belief requires an action.
So you're saying belief is the action, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's interesting to me, because it goes back to maybe another question we had about choosing, having the ability to choose,
right,
to believe something
without the confidence.
Yeah. Right. Choosing to believe something that I don't think is true. I'm in the camp of, if somebody isn't convinced of something, they're not able to believe it. They can choose to say that they believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be kind of an action. But at least for me, I don't have the ability to choose to believe something that I don't think is true.
But that's a choice, right?
I don't believe I have a choice to believe. I don't think I have the ability to choose to believe something that I don't think is true.
You don't think you have the capability to choose something that you aren't convinced of?
Yeah, because it's basically that would be part of my definition of believing something, being convinced that it's true.
Yeah.
If I'm convinced something is true, then I believe it. I can't choose to believe something is true that I don't think is true.
Okay. Is there not some part of belief that by choosing to believe something, isn't there also inherently you're wanting it to be true?
Yeah, wanting something to be true and being convinced that it is true, those are different for me.
But they're both part of belief, right? Wanting and being convinced of?
I can want to believe something, but I can't choose to believe it if I'm not convinced it's true.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, because I think there are, and I think maybe where I'm coming at it is that there's two components to it, and you could want to believe something, and because of wanting it enough, being convinced or not, you could make the choice.
I could make the choice that I want to believe something, but that doesn't change whether it's true. My wanting something to be true has no effect on it being true or not. It's either true or not true. My belief has no effect on whether it's actually the case.
Okay.